Welcome, family, to Tulsa Talk Thursdays. I am Jay Morrison, the Tulsa founder, CEO, and the fund manager of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. But here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I have this forum, somewhat of a video chat, podcast, question and answer session. You can call in, and sometimes lectures and lessons. And I bring on special guests to talk about how we're leveraging the Tulsa Real Estate Fund movement, the People's Fund, to impact and empower generations of underserved community members, Africans in America, the Black community, as well as those who are in support of our community's plight to rebuild, repair, and restore our community, and who are also shareholders, partners, founders, and investors with us. So the Tulsa Real Estate Fund is the first ever 100% Black-owned real estate crowdfund in the history of the world, in the history of this country, in the history of our community, our village. And I'm happy to be the founder and CEO who had the vision and supported by so many team members, staff members, partners, over 11,000 partners of our fund and our management company. And so I'm humbled and privileged to be in this seat. And do not take for granted the responsibility and the level of expectation that comes with being in this seat. And accountability, again, is I think one of the strongest words, and responsibility. So with that, tonight I want to, in our Real Estate Crowdfunding 101, last week we had our president, Janetta Pay, our CCO, Chief Communication Officer, Ernestine Johnson, my fiance, who would be Ernestine Morrison in 9 days. They held down last week with our attorney, our SEC attorney, Jillian, and they talked about crowdfunding 101, understanding real estate crowdfunding in general, SEC regulations, and really, I think it was a great informative session where there was so many gems dropped. And it was a level up for our community and a level up for anyone who watched on what actually takes place in this industry, right? The crowdfunding industry and the regulated Reg A Tier 2 SEC industry in this particular asset class. It's different than hedge funds. It's different than REITs. It's different than Reg Ds or other kind of funds that many people are familiar with. This Regulation A Tier 2 crowdfunding space, I mean, there's only about 490 companies in the entire country that are of this asset class. About 430 unique companies and approximately 50 companies that are real estate crowdfunds in the entire country. And we are the first, I don't know if the only, but I'm not really the first, 100% Black-owned fund. We're proud of that, and we're happy to represent all of our founders, shareholders, and partners. So anyway, every Thursday we do this. I have a very special guest tonight that I work very closely with. Very passionate queen, very powerful queen, very knowledgeable queen, very experienced queen, a very successful queen by the name of Chantelle Owens, the tax lien queen here in Atlanta, Georgia, who has now come on board as a partner in not only the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, but the Jay Morrison Academy, as we believe in, under the Jay Morrison brand, empowering our community through education, economic education, and economic stimulation by participation, right? So where I get that from, and I mentioned it in my book, The Solution, how Africans in America can achieve unity, justice, and repair. Where I get this philosophy from for economic empowerment, or what we want to call the economic revolution, where I get the philosophy from is Malcolm X. Malcolm X in the 1960s spoke about how Africans in America, Black people, who were commonly called Negroes back then, or coloreds, how we suffered from political oppression, key, economic exploitation, and social degradation. So for purposes of Tulsa Talks, I'm going to leave the political oppression to the side. I'm going to leave the social degradation to the side, and I want to focus on the economic exploitation side. So when I first heard this in Malcolm X's speech called The Ballot or the Bullet, I wondered, so I said, Malcolm gave us a diagnosis that our community, the black community, we suffer from economic exploitation. We're exploited economically. I thought to myself, why is that? And Malcolm spoke to it in his speech as well. And part of the why is that we are exploited is because we are economically ignorant. We're not economically educated, and that was done by design. And we don't have enough economic participation, which creates economic stimulation, meaning more money and more wealth. This is why we're in last place and why we're poorer. And so I wanted to always come up with solutions for those ailments, for that diagnosis that Malcolm gave us. And what we do under our brand and the Jay Morrison Academy and Easy Funding and the Tulsa Real Estate Fund is all about economic stimulation or economic education. So even if you're not a Tulsa Real Estate Fund shareholder or partner, you can watch and participate in the live streams. Hey, live stream. Hey, everybody. Facebook, IG, all y'all. Or the YouTube channel, or you can be on the conference call, and you can still learn something, even without being a founder, or shareholder, or member. But for our members, you also can learn, but be informed about what your founder, what our team members, what our partners, what we're doing, what our strategies, philosophies, and ideologies are in regards to real estate investment, wealth creation through real estate and entrepreneurship, and how we're taking that into action in real life through the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. So tonight, I'm going to do a quick little breeze lesson for everyone. Free game, free game. I'm going to do a brief lesson to kind of explain my thought process, my philosophies, my ideologies in regards to investing as the fund manager. And then we're going to bring in one of our experts and partners, Chantelle Owens, who's going to drill down on some advice, expertise, and just some of our strategy in regards to investing in tax liens and some of the challenges we see with that and many of the benefits and advantages we see in investing in that. So tonight when I'm focusing on creative real estate strategies and creative investment strategies, what I want you all to think about and keep in mind is this. This is why I laughed when many were flustered saying, we have to do something fast. We have to buy real estate now. We got to do something because to shut the naysayers up. I don't operate that kind of way. And good business doesn't operate off of emotion. And I laughed also because this part is, in my opinion, easy. Facilitating real estate transactions, joint ventures, syndications, private equity opportunities, lending opportunities leveraged by collateral and conservative LTVs, putting the right systems, process, controls, underwriting guidelines, and deal servicing in place is something that comes natural to me. It's something that I've done over the last 12 years in every aspect of the real estate industry, from developer to real estate agent, high-end agent, celebrity agent, investment agent, and to house flipper and landlord and loan officer and mortgage company branch manager, and all these hats that I've worn in the industry the last 12 years to now fund manager, and an historic fund manager, I might add, not to mention just entrepreneur in the over 36 companies that I've managed or owned in the last 12 years. All those experiences, plus the 10 years prior to the last 12 years of entrepreneurial experiences that I have, and all my life experiences, all these things are wrapped up into the decision maker, the strategist, the fund manager, and the astute businessman and effective businessman that I am today. So with all that being said, when we look at our fund, and we have a challenge that most funds don't have. So in our fund, we have two core needs. So I'm giving you guys game. This is not so much explaining and informing, although I love to be informative and transparent with our Tulsa Fund founders and partners and shareholders, but it's more about I want you all to think past the surface and think larger about how you can apply this to your life. Remember, we're about stimulation and education. So you can invest in Tulsa Real Estate Fund for the participation and stimulation. But I want to teach you, I love teaching you all because the things I've learned have elevated me and my family in life, and I want you all to have that same opportunity. That's why we do what we do. So I want to educate you and teach you as well strategy about how things should be done in a diligent and effective manner, right? And when you're focused. So we have two agendas under the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. One is, and it's really hard to say which one is first, to be honest with you. So our heart, the heart of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund is social impact, right? That's the heart of the real estate fund, is how do we pool our dollars together to create social impact to be able to support our village. And I'm going to come back to this in just a second. These are two of our biggest functions. But at the same time, we have an obligation to perform. Right? So performance meaning, AKA, create revenue, achieve our preferred return on investments, and profits for our partners. So majority of fund managers, and for those on the conference call, you all can tune into any of the lives, IG Live on my page, our Facebook Live on Tulsa Real Estate Fund, our Tulsa IG Live, my fan page, and I think even the Jay Morrison Academy page. So we're all over to watch this. So again, I'm educating you all, whoever wants to be future fund managers. Don't even take this like a Tulsa Real Estate Fund thing. Take this as a education, a time to learn from a fund manager on how to be a fund manager and how we all can be socially impactful fund managers and real estate entrepreneurs or just social entrepreneurs. Let me show you how that perspective is done and how we balance this. Because we have an obligation, those who have a concern and heart for our community, knowing we're dead last, and knowing we've been dead last for 450 years, every year on year, as I say, we have an obligation and now an opportunity to be able to push our community forward by being able to do socially impactful business, to use leverage group economics, create infrastructure and institutions to stimulate us and repair our own village. So, I'm showing you the balance. In that balance, we have to do projects that impact our community in a powerful way. So there's two ways in which we do that. There's this part really, impacting our community investors and partners. So just by us performing and you all getting back your 8% preferred returns and your 50% share of the profits, we instantly impact our community just by performing. So even if any of our real estate deals, say all were hotel deals in Boise, Idaho, or Miami Beach, or whatever it was, if our real estate deals had no geographical social impact, meaning we repaired the hood or we created affordable housing or other types of socially impactful investments, just the fact that our fund makes smart choices like diversifying into tax liens, we're going to talk about later with Chantelle, or condo conversions, or creating private equity opportunities and joint ventures with successful projects, agriculture, and the other investments that we'll talk about. Just by making smart choices, we benefit our community and meet one of our goals just by our investors doing well and their investment performing better than it would have in their checking account, savings account, shoebox, safety deposit box, in a Gucci bag, Louis sneakers, a new car, or in their mutual fund 401k, 403b, or most of their IRAs. So just by us performing, we impact our community by making our community more money. Potentially, right? By us investing the right way. Now we have a second opportunity and obligation to invest in projects that have geographical and physical and tangible social impact. Meaning some funds, all they got to worry about is performing well, meeting their investors' minimums and goals and hey, their fund job is over. Well, we have an obligation to make social impact, and sometimes that's social impact based on, like I said, affordable housing or other types of anti-gentrification opportunities, or that social impact is through investing in, so we have our investors, right? We have these what we're going to call anti-gentrification or reverse gentrification, meaning when others come in and buy up our communities, like AKA us repairing our community or buying back the block. That's another way that we have social impact. Another is by securing historically impactful projects. Right? These are all the obligations under the Tulsa Real Estate Fund that we have to meet. And what's thinking and running through my mind all day, every day about how do I walk this line? And I have to perform, because if the fund does not perform, you all will not care about, well, not some of you say, hey, I'm investing and I don't care what it do, I'm supporting, and I would donate it anyway. Some of you want to see performance. Many of you see performance, and we have a mandate, an obligation to do our best to perform. So say we bought back a new Black Wall Street, but the new Black Wall Street didn't make any money. We would be potentially smeared and wrong and have been ineffective managers, right? So even if we built the new Black Wall Street, if we bought 10,000 acres of land with the capital that we raised and had acres, a whole state of our own, but that state generated no revenue, we would be considered bad managers. So no matter how much social impact, we could buy up the whole city of Flint, Michigan. But if it didn't perform, we would be at risk and liable. So we have to perform and have social impact. So some of that social impact will be buying back or securing historically impactful projects to our community, using our investment capital to take back our legacy and what's ours here in America. And then fourth, which is not necessarily last on the list, is supporting, which I'll put up here, supporting our village, meaning supporting other investors and entrepreneurs, right? So I saw an article about there being some black farmers who were sold faulty seeds, fake seeds, in hopes that they would spoil their crops, lose enough revenue to then have to sell their land at a discount. And they were sold fake seeds, these black farmers, I believe, in Tennessee. And I saw it last night, and I was going to instinctively post, hey, somebody get me their financials and their information, because we'd love to support them while they sue this cruddy company and deceitful company who sold these fake seeds. So my point being is that, and we may reach out. The point being is that a portion of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund heart and mind is to see where we can support entrepreneurs, minority investors, minority developers, and others from a private equity standpoint who have either projects that perform well or that have social impact. So we may have a minority investor or developer who brings us a deal that the numbers are solid and make sense, but this deal may not be in our community. But we may want to secure this deal anyway because it performs. That's called diversification. But then on the other hand, we might find deals that have social impact that may not perform as well, but we need it and we have to do it. It's our obligation. It's what we built the fund for. And now we're able to diversify high yielding potentially and high performing assets and investments with some socially impactful assets and investments that may even support the village, may have some historical impact, that may buy back our blocks just to control our neighborhoods, or might support just our investors from performance. But those are the obligations and the commitments and the investment strategy and mind frame that we come to the table with, and that me as the fund manager, I'm committed to, and the challenge that we have is that we got to make big social impact, but we got to get this right too, because I'm not thinking about Tulsa Real Estate Fund 1. I'm thinking about Tulsa Real Estate Fund 20. I'm thinking about the future of this opportunity, this economic revolution, to be able to stimulate our economic situation through performance and investment, through social impact, through historical impact, through support, and through controlling our neighborhoods from an investment standpoint. And so all the deals that we're looking at right now meet this criteria. People say, what's your investment criteria? This. Properties that perform, that can meet our 8% preferred return and provide some type of profits for our investors. Now let me show you how that works. And then we're going to call the queen up. Some assets that we invest in, right? So I'm going to show you different types of assets. Let's take, right now, a 107 unit apartment building, right? So this is one. Inner city. Affordable housing. That's two. Tax lien assets, right? Three. And these are four of actually several examples and scenarios that are happening right now today in real life that I'm actually thinking about while I'm teaching this. I'm thinking about the actual deals. So another scenario that we talked about is A-class properties, right? So this is just four scenarios, and then actually we'll even squeeze in, I'll put up here, private equity, right, opportunities. Private equity opportunities, I'm talking about two private equity opportunities. Is the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, this is equal to our support strategy, plus performance. So what we realize is that it's very hard, difficult for many urban investors, minority investors and developers, black and women investors and developers to be able to get capital for great projects. And they have the experience and they have the infrastructure and they, know what they're doing. So it's unfair that they don't have and can't get the access to the capital as many in other communities can, as easily as they can. So we want to be a support mechanism through our soft money lending and our joint venture opportunities, which will be rolling out hopefully in the next 10 days or 14 days, to be able to submit deals for private equity opportunities and partnerships through Tulsa Real Estate Fund. And we'll have our terms and our underwriting guidelines laid out for those who may be a great partner that we can support, and for entrepreneurs for certain types of businesses. But that process will be well explained on our site, etc. Outside of this, when we have our other collaborative opportunities, because with all these opportunities, we are not looking to be the property managers, of course, nor the project managers. We're looking to be the fund managers and the equity partner, right? Or sponsor potentially of the deal. So in that, I want to show you some investment philosophy and strategy. We may see the opportunity for, say, an 170 unit apartment, which we are currently having conversations about a 107 unit apartment complex. In this complex, right, we might have a 10% cap rate, meaning 10% ROI in essence, and we may see that there's an opportunity in the next several years for us to grow this by, say, $400,000 of equity. So we know there's some performance there from the equity, which increases our capital balances of assets that we own, or the ROI. Now we might have another inner city affordable housing deal. This is why Tulsa is a long-term investment for us. We may find out, you know what? we have a deal here that we only can get, 7 to 9% on, which is even below our 8% preferred return. But in 15 years, we may be able to convert the affordable housing market rate that this property is getting, because affordable housing is lower, of course. We may be able to have the opportunity to split that market rate to part of it affordable housing and part of it traditional market rate, which would increase the equity of this building by just say $2 million in 15 years. And so we will look at the holistic ROI of this opportunity, although the right now money may not be as competitive as we like. But then we'd have maybe another opportunity in the A-class space, like we're looking at using anchor properties, meaning household name businesses, and buying a strip mall or a corner lot and putting a chain business or chain bank into a property and getting a 20-year lease on the property from a A-class tenant. And outside the 20-year lease, we might be looking at 8% returns, sometimes even as low as 6% returns. But we know over the 20-year lease, the appreciation of the asset over that 20 years would holistically increase our profitability and long-term wealth and stimulation by owning the asset long-term while receiving our returns. And then we might and will be investing into assets like tax liens that will, like here in Georgia, bring in 20% per year. Sometimes this could be 30% after 366 days on ROI on the investment, and or claiming the property if your tax lien lien holder or seller doesn't reclaim the property, then we would claim a property at 65 cents on a dollar, meaning at 65% at best of the market value of the property, and then can sell it ourselves and make the other 35%, meaning $35,000 profit on every $100,000 property that we bid on, which could be phenomenal returns. Or keeping this property under our portfolio with proper property management and keeping the equity for future liquidity events or leverage opportunities, keeping the equity and then receiving the cash flow from the property that we got pennies on a dollar that's making 30-40% a year in rental income. So what I'm saying is that in whole, and I know some of this may be a different language or gibberish for some of you, which is, again, I don't want to, the goal is stimulation, and the goal is ending our economic exploitation. And so if you can't have this dialogue, because I couldn't have had this dialogue or understood this dialogue 12 years ago when I was 25 years old coming into the industry, and I didn't even have to send an email or know what an ROI or down payment or equity appreciation or diversification was, that's not a problem. We'll help you on that side for free, no cost, by simply going to jmorrisonacademy.com and joining our free Wealth Creators Club and community. It's at jmorrisonacademy.com. There's a host of lectures and lessons that you'll get just to help build your financial acumen and your financial vocabulary and comprehension level. And then you come back to this conversation and be like, oh, okay, I know what he was talking about. Or at least most of it. And then there's opportunities for you to get more intense and advanced training as well, right? So this is how we level up from economic education and economic participation and stimulation. But these are the strategies, the thoughts. Plus, I have 4 or 5 more scenarios that are currently going on right now. But I'm just saying our investment strategy as a whole is to perform. And I didn't even mix in our historical projects into this, which may overperform or underperform, but we are intentional about making sure that we meet these 2 goals for our fund. Is social impact. Now, mind you, our first deal, second deal, I can't make or guarantee that our first deal is a social deal. I can't make or guarantee that our first deal is a high performance deal. But if you understand our complete comprehensive investment strategy, I hope this makes you more comfortable to understand that wherever we deploy capital, whether it's in private equity, in historical impact, in social impact, in A-class properties, in C to B class, value-add opportunities and properties, no matter where that's at, we're going to do it wisely and diligently and astutely as we should. So, simple as that. So, and for those of you who are looking to, again, be social entrepreneurs, hopefully this offers some insight and some game. Now, I really feel strongly about the tax lien assets we talked about, and I've gotten a crash course on the last 60 days. I've been very aware of tax liens, never invested in them, well, until last week. I never invested in tax liens a day of my life. I was aware. I've been to courthouse steps. I've been to the auctions. I was like, I don't really like it. I don't like in Jersey, we have a different bidding process than here in Atlanta, but I didn't like the whole, I'm getting 13% interest or 15% interest on my property, and I just gave you 70 grand. And the prices are very high in Jersey as well. So I got to pay 70 grand for somebody's taxes or 37 grand. I don't want 13% because at that time when I was coming up in the industry, I knew with 30 grand, 70 grand, I could make, tons more building or developing or flipping myself, right? But now seeing a different side of tax liens and seeing other strategies associated with them from my crash course with Queen Chantelle, I'm about to bring up in a second, very, very excited about it, feel really good about it, so good about it for our fund. And this is the whole thing. We get to partner, as Tulsa Fund, we get to partner with some of the best talent in our community. I'm getting some of the support I'm getting from Queen Chantelle Owens, Queen Roberta Hosky, from Will Roundtree, from Isaac Grace, from King's Kenny Russian, King Marcel Humphrey, King Mark Witten, King Ramon Tukes, King Benedict Guerrier. The support I'm getting from the real estate community is amazing, and Tulsa wants to be a partner for urban, minority, and Africans in America who are developers and investors. We want to, we're entrepreneurs, real estate entrepreneurs. We want to partner and support you. And so we appreciate you guys reaching out. And so anyway, Queen has a great model. We'll open up some question and answer, maybe for the tax lien perspective. But first, I want her to tell a little bit of her story and experiences and about our Tulsa and Chantelle Owens tax lien bootcamp expertise and our strategies. But I think the tax lien market, that 20% interest, et cetera, is going to be a great foundation for us to diversify our income. And we're going to do it in a socially responsible way where we're not leaving people hanging and out to dry, even in this very volatile tax lien space where, unfortunately, you may have to foreclose on homeowners if they're behind on the taxes, right, and these liens. But we found out and figured out some ways to be socially responsible in doing that, but still be able to perform for the fund. So without further ado, I want to introduce Boss Queen Chantelle Owens, the tax lien queen. I'll stand
King
for
Jay.
you.
How you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Greetings, Tulsa family.
All right. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
You want to scoot in? You want to slide this over? We can do it. You sure you good? I feel like we should. I feel off center. Come on. There we go. Perfect. Right there. Not too much. All right. Cool. We're in here. So you and I left the tax lien here in Georgia last week.
Yes.
And we tested out. Well, you've been testing it out for 12 years. We're going to talk about that. But I've tested out and invested in and did our first bid for a tax lien property last week. And so we secured that last week at a very good cost on the dollar. So before we get into all those details, Queen, I really want you to, we'll talk about, these are our live streams. We're going to say hi to them too.
Hello.
I'm going to focus on our Tulsa Real Estate Fund Facebook camera. But I want you to tell everyone just about yourself in general, about you as an expert in the investment and tax lien space, and then we'll talk about our Tulsa collaboration.
Okay. Well, I am a full-time tax lien investor. I've been investing in tax liens for 10 years. I've been full-time for 8 years. And my story
So full-time meaning you have no other job?
No other job.
Okay, so this supports your lifestyle you're living?
Yes.
Okay, no boss.
No bosses.
No master?
No master.
Okay, okay, make sure. All right, I just want to be clear.
Until now.
Your brother. Your big brother. No, go ahead and listen. So.
Yeah, so my story of how I actually got into the tax lien is a very interesting story. So I was in corporate America, and then I became a real estate investor as a credit investor. So I allowed someone to use my credit. And through that process, I saw what I made, and I saw what the other people made. So I said, I need to get on that side.
Right.
So I went full-time and started with subject to, went to wholesaling, flipping, and then eventually became a landlord. Went through my first market crash, got back in, and then when the second market crash.
How long ago was this?
So
the first rodeo.
The first rodeo was in 1998.
Okay.
So I've been actually full-time in real estate for 18 years.
Nice.
Right. And so went through that first
98,
market.
I was flipping too. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So, got into real estate. The market crashed again. And I, at that time, had 17 rental properties. And when the second market crash happened in 2007, I was left holding 17 rental properties, all with adjustable rate mortgages. And so they all went into foreclosure. And then in 2008, I got a call saying, I saw your name on the tax sale list. So I researched that property, and lo and behold, a property that went into foreclosure, or it was supposedly went into foreclosure, the bank actually never foreclosed. So they left it in my name, and banks at that time were doing that so they didn't have to pay for all this inventory that they were holding. So they were, just leaving it in the property owner name, and then you would be on the hook for the taxes.
Wow.
So the property went into the tax sale in my name, and then this property at the time was a $90,000 property, valued at $90,000, and the person actually purchased this property for $2,100.
So they purchased for $2,100 from the tax sale, and it's worth $90,000.
Yes.
And if you didn't pay those taxes, they keep the property.
Yes. And so at that time, I hadn't paid the taxes because I thought the property was in foreclosure. Oh. And so it went into the tax sale. The investor paid the taxes. And just so happened, a friend of mine saw it. So I was able to go back and redeem that property, get that property back. So I took that. And at the time, I wasn't even in real estate. I had gotten out of real estate. I had shrugged off real estate, vowed to never get back in real estate again. And at that time, I was actually a barber. I had opened up a barber shop, and I was cutting hair when I got that call. And so when I saw that, I was right back in real estate. And I said, this is what I actually always wanted to do, was buy real estate and own it free and clear.
Right.
I was waiting to the day that I could pay those mortgages off, and now I saw a shortcut. I could get to that point faster.
Right.
And owning real estate free and clear is something that most people never get to experience.
Right.
And it's actually life-changing, and it just does a mental shift in your mind. So.
Right. So free and clear, for those who don't know, and I know I said a lot earlier, is just without a mortgage, without debt, without having to pay somebody monthly. So that means if you're renting it out, all the cash flow is yours outside of taxes, insurance, and your utility and maintenance. But that's a great thing. And so take us from that point of you're facing foreclosure, you're in foreclosure, you're facing tax lien sale, to now you're full-time last 8 years. It's retiring you. So
that was a very desolate time. Like, I really almost didn't even have the money to pay that $2,100. I had to borrow, scrape, but I was determined because I understood enough about real estate to know if I got that asset back, I could easily pay back that $2,100, and then everything after that would be mine. So it was a desolate time, and didn't have much money, so I got that property back. It maybe needed $5,000 worth of repair because it had been sitting for a year and some change. I put a tenant in it and started saving that money to go buy more property. So then I started trying to create a mini fund, like, give me some money, and nobody believed that you could buy property for that cheap, especially that without a mortgage, or that it would wipe the mortgage off.
Right.
And so I had a hard time getting people to invest.
And I want to stop right there for a second. And this is what I mean by what Malcolm said of economic exploitation because of our economic ignorance. Ignorance meaning you just don't know. Mm-hmm. So here we are running around spending $2,100 on vacations to go with our girls to Miami, like, and here you are owning a property free and clear with no mortgage, with a rental, with a tenant, trying to entice people. Give them the game. Yes. Hey, yo, the water's over here. The pond is over here. And they want to, I don't believe that. While the wealthy are going there and tearing it up.
Yes.
We know that last week. Last week, we came ready to bid last week. We came to the auction with a list of 11 properties. We're committed to buying 11 properties last week. Y'all want the truth? Y'all want the truth?
Tell them the truth.
Y'all want the truth? We were committed to buying 11 properties last week that we vetted. Chantelle and her team rode around, took pictures of them all. We did all the numbers on them all. We had the budget. We had the check cut. And somebody came out there and out-muscled us. We couldn't buy them because they were bidding too high, and it wouldn't have made sense for our performance. Now, it would have made sense for our long-term performance, but I have to be so cautious and so careful and so conservative, because if I screw up, y'all gonna try to kill me. Even though I and Chantelle know that if we bid more, eventually it will correct itself in appreciation and a long-term capital could play off, but we got to make sure that we are taking it one step at a time. But my point is, the wealthy are out there scooping them up, and here we are economically exploited and ignorant, missing out on an amazing opportunity to be able to benefit from debt-free property.
Yes, and I'm like you, so I've had several different businesses, hustles, whatever. So at that time, I was actually doing taxes. So I've done tax returns for 20 years. I no longer do them anymore. I retired like 2 years ago from that. But so I was doing tax returns. So I would see people getting $12,000, $10,000. I'm like, what are you gonna do with this? You know,
they gonna get a car.
They don't want to tell me what they gonna do. I'm like, look, this is what you should do. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get with you, and never heard them. And now what they say is, why you didn't tell me? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I told you. Been telling you.
Are you kidding me? And it's like, you know what? I just didn't believe you.
Yep.
And so people still say that.
And it's the same way I feel about, one of my niches is deal syndication in multifamily houses, right? Like apartment buildings. And so I tell and I teach my students how to put together syndications and deals with limited money, whether it be assuming mortgages, owner financing, being a credit partner in the right way, or leveraging the bank's money, or leveraging easy funding, leveraging credit cards, credit lines, equity. Like the strategies are there, but we refuse to learn or to buy in or to
execute.
We refuse. And so those of you already who are excited or interested about the tax lien market outside of your investment in Tulsa Real Estate Fund and what we'll do together, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, Chantelle and I have also partnered in the Jay Morrison Academy to bring the same training and education that she's used to retire herself with the tax liens to be able to provide that same opportunity to you all who want training and know how to be tax lien investors, part-time or full-time. So we will give you, listen, everything under the brand is education and stimulation and participation. That's our thing, right? So you got in there, now we're here. So let's talk about here.
All right.
So what made you think about, consider, and agree to take on this opportunity to participate with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, our movement, and lending your expertise and infrastructure and talent to us performing and providing social impact?
Right. Well, so I am participating on several levels. So I've invested in the fund.
All right.
And
hi, partner. So,
yes, I'm a partner. And so I invested in the fund because I believe in the fund. I believe in the vision of the fund. It represents me and my own personal principles. And just from meeting you, I believe in you. And so those are the reasons I actually invested in the fund. Now, how I came as far as agreeing to invest in the tax liens, well, I'm just excited about that opportunity. You know, I've been doing this, like I said, for 10 years, and I've never really had a chance to compete against the big boys, you know. Right. So I've just able to get into, I've been able to actually catch the crumbs, but never really compete on a large scale. And so I was so excited about that, you know. And
so talk more about that. Tell them what it's like at an auction in that scenario of not competing with the big boys and just catching the crumbs, we call it. Right. But still being successful even in that. But.
Okay. So the perfect example of that is what you and I experienced this last tax sale, right? We were prepared, we had the money for the 11 properties. Well, for me, I've never really had the money to buy 11 properties at one time, so that was just exciting for me. So we got there, we were prepared, we had our max bids prepared, but then we were outbidded by the big boys. And ironically, we were outbidded by my own attorney, and so that happens a lot. You know, when you get to the higher
it's real
level,
out here. It's real.
When you get to the higher level of bidding, so you have a crowd. Let's say you have a crowd of 50 people. 25 of those people are just going to be spectators. They're not going to bid, you know. Then you may have an additional 15 who may bid on a smaller level. And then you may have a few, maybe 5, who can go beyond the majority of the crowd. And then beyond that is what we consider the big boys. You know, they have unlimited pockets. And so they are willing to bid more aggressively. And so I've never been able to compete at that level. You know, I was always sitting below that level or on the, you know, second tier level of bidding. And so it was just excited to go, feel excited, like, you know, I can compete, you know, even though I'm used to walking away and not obtaining everything that I wanted. So for me, it wasn't as bad. I think Jay was a little...
I wanted it all.
A little discouraged, but this is part of tax lien investing. And if anybody who wants to be a tax lien investor, this is what you're going to experience. And so when you experience that on your first go, you have to know that you have to keep going back. So my first go, you know, I didn't get the properties that I wanted. I think I walked away with one property the first time I actually went to bid, you know. So over time, I was able to start accumulating properties, and that really is a long-term goal.
It is. And I think that just boils down to wealth strategy in general. And that's what the challenge, I understand that. I get it really well, like patience and long-term goal. And I want especially our Tulsa partners to understand that part. Our community, our village as a whole, we got to understand, like, we didn't get in this overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. Like, wealth is not created overnight. And I think that's part of the challenge on my side, just being transparent with you all as family and partners, is that I understand the long-term strategies that have to take place, but I also understand that everyone is not of that same mind frame, right? So we have over 11,000 partners. Over 11,000, I think over 11,600 partners. Hey guys, Treff Life. And I want our partners to have, and I know you guys will, I know many of you do, that's why you're invested. But I want you to have the utmost confidence in the decisions that we make, because some of them may not make sense to you based on your level of understanding right now. Mm-hmm. And many of our decisions are not going to certainly make sense to our detractors and naysayers and those who have no experience in any of this anyway. So we need to be focused and have some patience and trust in just the process of all the different levels of investments that I feel really confident about our ability to execute and perform. Outside of tax liens, Chantelle and I won't say what project, but she's helped me diligently on a very historically impactful project that we're working on as well. I mean, how many nights are we
excited
up? I mean, how many nights are we up?
Almost every night.
Conference calls, emails, negotiations, strategies, things that we can't, you know, obviously relate to the public, but there's a lot of great things going on behind the scenes. And so, all right, now we have this opportunity, and we're going to keep building on it to invest with the big boys, be the big boys.
Yes.
And go compete. And for me, what makes me happy about it is this was all part of my vision with Tulsa Fund, as I told you earlier.
Yes.
I've been an investor. I've been to the tax lien sales. And I saw how the 3 dudes in the back was getting all the properties. And I wasn't feeling that. I got to be in here with my little bit of crumbs. I'm going to take my crumbs out here in these streets, right? And so when I created and founded the Tulsa Fund, when we created and founded the Tulsa Fund, it was with the vision of being able to support minority developers and investors throughout the community, because I've been one, I've seen them. I've seen us get beat at the tax sales. I've seen us get out-auctioned, outbidded. I've seen us not be able to buy the bulk tape of REOs from the banks. When the banks say, hey, y'all got 300 properties for $2.3 million. We not know where to even be able to pull. I ain't got no uncles to call for $2.3 million. So the Tulsa Fund is our uncle. The Tulsa Fund is our community, our village's rich uncle. Most of us didn't get the rich uncle or the rich dad. So we created the fund to be the rich dad and the rich uncle for our village. That's the whole purpose of the fund. And so to being able to support you in a tax lien space and give you the capital as a black woman to go stand strong and firm on the courthouse steps with what we often see are white men, and at that day were white men, it's great to see our queen compete with the big boys. With an unlimited bag, but a big enough bag to buy what we needed to buy. That's the exciting part. That's the part that you should be telling your friends and your parents and all them about why you should be an investor and founder too and investing in a fund. It's about the opportunity to support our village. The properties are here. They're everywhere.
Yes, they are.
Y'all, like, people make it seem like investing in real estate's the hard thing. That's the easy part. Having the capital and resources to compete in the real estate industry at the highest level, that's the hard part that we're solving now with TREF. So I'm super excited, supporting you, the work that we're doing, etc. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. So yeah. I'm looking forward to our next sale and journey. Any other thoughts you have, though, just in that whole space?
Just one thing that came to mind when you said that I hear a lot that there's no deals out there. And,
right.
I always laugh at that because as I'm driving, looking at the tax lien properties, I see tons of real estate. And so that's another aspect of what we plan to do is while we're out there seeing the tax lien properties is also obtaining some of those other vacant properties as well. So
correct.
It's definitely out there, And then the other thing that I want to address is something that you said earlier is that, and we've talked about this, is that as a tax lien investor, I've been actually almost accosted by people who feel like tax lien investing is a disservice to the community.
Gotcha, yep.
And so I just want to kind of clear that myth up for our Tulsa partners. So, one, counties need taxes to function. And basically, the services that counties provide is what keeps cities civilized. So your water, so take away the water, that's going to be chaos. Look at Flint. Take away your streets. That's chaos. And so they need those. Exactly. So they need those funds to function. And what most people don't understand is that the state gives the county legal power to take the house. And so they're going to sell it regardless, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's who do you want actually in that space to buy the properties? Someone who are just going to who's going to just put a family out, or someone like us who's going to come up with situations to help people in those situations. And then alternatively, my motto up until this point has always, I buy vacant property. So it's actually doing a service to that community because then you start to bring the values back up. I can't tell you how many times I go in to rehab a house and then 2 days later, the neighbor next door is now painting their house, asking me, how much did your contractor charge you for the paint? And now they want to paint their house because they don't want to be outdone, and now they're starting to take pride in the neighborhood. So there's so many ways that tax lien investing actually benefits. And then when you look at a person like me, I actually had a chance to go back and get a property because of that year time.
Right.
You know, investor came in. Yes, I had to pay them their
you
money.
Bought somebody bought you time. By
Yes,
buying your tax lien, they
exactly.
bought you time to come up with your money and reclaim your property.
Exactly. And that one seed or one property is what led to my wealth today. Because I don't see how I would have made it to this
Without
point
that
fast without that, because I was able to once again buy property at pennies on the dollar that was now without a mortgage.
Absolutely. And that's why another thing that motivated me with the fund is, if you look at statistics, vacant properties increase gang activity, increase violent crime, increase rape. Then when you reverse that and talk about home ownership, creating properties that can go on the tax records for homeowners, I mean, of course, increases the tax revenue for schools and programming, but also when you're bringing homeowners into communities, homeownership, children of homeowners are more likely to go to graduate high school, more likely to go to college, or less likely for teen pregnancy. These are all real stats. That homeownership and improving properties really reverses these negative stigmas and activities that's going on in our community. So, I mean, it's all, to me, it's all good. And I think our socially entrepreneurial views, we're always thinking about, okay, yes, we got to perform, but we can't do a disservice to the community, or how do we balance that out? So, I appreciate that part about you as well.
And then we talked about creating a program to help educate people who are in that situation so they can get back on their feet and really understand how they got in that space and move beyond
Right. Yeah,
that.
we talked about doing, so with our tax lien sector of investing, we talked about creating a whole course just for homeowners who are in tax lien debt or situations, just to educate and prepare them. So that's just, again, us being that double thing we got to walk, is being socially impactful, but also, and educating, but also participating and performing.
Yeah.
So.
And that's really kind of what drew me in, because as I've told you, and mostly everybody who knows me know, I'm ready to retire, y'all. And so just because this vision means so much, right? Because this vision means so much. So I'm older than Jay, so he's still got a good 10 years in him, if not more, but I'm ready, like, woo. But this vision means so much more to me, because I love our people, that, I'm willing to say, okay, I give some time.
You see, that's the sacrifice of the village, where the elders are willing to come out of retirement. But no, I really appreciate you. We appreciate you. We're not going to take many. Let's take a few question and answers for tonight. And then we're going to wrap up. I want to make tonight more informative. I'm sure there's some Q&A that we have either from live stream or from conference call. Again, this is Tulsa Talk Thursdays here with Chantelle Owens, the tax lien queen, our Tulsa TREF partner, new Jay Morrison Academy instructor and coach to be. So let's see if we got anybody on the line. Anybody, Queen Tam, in the question queue on the conference call? Anybody on live stream?
Yo, can y'all hear me out there?
I hear you, King.
Yes.
A little louder.
Oh, sorry, man. I got the Bluetooth on.
Oh, you're good right there.
I've been listening to y'all. For the whole stream. I was at work. I got the email. I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna call in. See what happens. And it's crazy, like I'm live. So, thanks y'all first and foremost, man. I appreciate the work that y'all doing.
Thank you.
And I know it's a good thing coming not just to y'all, but to future generations as well. But my question is, so what's the easiest way for a person with limited funds to finance the acquisition of a tax lien? Let's say it's something that they want to bid upon, a property that they like, will see potential in. How do you prevent from being outbidded? What's the easiest way to kind of to get those funds?
So, I can answer that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so basically you have to find the right type of properties to bid on. If you have limited funds, you're not going to be able to go after your higher end properties or the properties that you probably want. So you ultimately have to change your mindset in what you're going to actually bid on. And you're going to have to pretty much do what I did, was catch the crumbs. And so it's going to be probably an undesirable property, but it could get you started. So, but there are other ways, you know, you can pool your funds with other people. You can...
yes, I was going to say, you could joint venture, syndicate, etc. But in order even to do any of that, you got to educate yourself on how to invest in tax liens. You just can't go there. I wouldn't go there with my last $1,700 or $2,000 or with somebody else's $2,000 and just do something I never done before with any training or any mentorship or any coaching. You're going to likely fail. So I would definitely encourage you, King. And the question was, what do you do if you have limited funds and you want to invest in tax liens? To me, the first thing is I'm going to get training, seek some of the best at doing it, and learn how to do it so that I can do it right. And I believe in, this is where you can syndicate deals. If you have the knowledge base, it's much easier to get your family, friends, and others into it. If you say, look, I learned it, I got a mentor, I got my highest bidding offer, I know the strategy, I know the blueprint, and now let's pull our resaurces in together and try to at least get one.
And that's actually what I did. I went to my rich auntie and said, Auntie, you know, this is the deal. And so she said, okay, I'll partner with you. You do the work, I put the money up, and we'll split it. And so that was one way that kept me moving.
And knowing what you're doing helps that out.
Yep.
So next question. Thank you, King. Great question.
Thank you.
Yes, Queen Jazz?
You're live.
Oh, you're live. What number?
917.
917 New York, you're live.
All right, going to the next one. 508.
Hello, 508.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Jay. Hello, Chantelle. This is Joel from Boston. It's good to speak with you. I have two questions. Both are for you, Chantelle, or yourself. In terms of sending deals to the Tulsa Fund, in the event that the deal is selected, would I be able to, would be an opportunity for me to participate in that? For example, if I find a tax lien in Connecticut, send over the details to the fund, would I be able to manage the rehab on that deal?
That's a great question. So King asked if he found a tax lien property in his market, would he be able to send that deal into Tulsa? And because it's such a complicated process of bidding and then having the proper ownership and understanding each different market, Tulsa's not accepting tax lien bid properties, although we'll be investing in it together through the fund. But we are working on another joint venture and opportunity in the next coming months where we will be able to lend to investors who have the experience on tax lien properties. So that will be coming in future months, but not currently, no.
And then additionally, we are working on, through the JMA, where we train students being able to partner with students. So if you sign up, take the class, then we're looking at ways to be able to partner with those students.
Yes, we're partnering with students who've already taken our class and training who you can trust and know our system. All right, great question, King.
All right, somebody from the JMA audience is cracking tonight. Somebody asked, what is the minimum amount that you recommend going to a tax lien sale with in terms of monetary resources?
That varies. Every tax sale is different. You know, people always say, what's the average price? You know, because it's an auction, there really is no average. You know, bidding can be very emotional, you know, but I would say what I teach students is at least $15,000, because basically you can buy a property and still have reserves for all the other things that'll come up. But with that being said, just in December, I purchased a property for $4,000. So, you know, you just have to be diligent in going to the tax sale. You can't just go here and there, and then the first time you don't get a property, then you're not going back. You know, I go to the tax sale even when I'm not going to purchase anything, because I want to keep up with what's going on. And so,
and that's being committed and being invested and really being about your business. A lot of us just want to hop in things for hot little trends and that's not wealth building. It's really taking a strategy or a career serious, learning all you can learn about it, focusing, and being intentional about executing, right? That's what all business. I think also on kind of the average price side or just having the funds for it, again, once you get the strategy, this whole thing is bigger than tax liens. It's bigger than even real estate investing. This is all I've been on all week, right, Avery and Queen Jazz? All week is about family wealth creation. And all these are many little strategies, whether it's cost segregation or syndication or multifamily houses or flipping or wholesaling or tax liens or crypto, with all that. All these strategies are just little bits in our arsenal. Some are guns, some are rifles, some are knives, some are grenades. All these things are just weapons in our arsenal to fight poverty and to build wealth. And so so the point I'm getting at is when someone asked that question, I immediately went to strategy. So if it is $15,000, but I only got $3,000, I'm like, all right, so JMA offers easy funding, where for $1,000, I could join the easy funding program and get funding up to $50,000 or $250,000 with no collateral, no bank statements, no W-2s, with a 680 credit score. So I could flip my $1,000 and get a line of credit for $50,000 or $70,000, and now I could get 3 or 4 of these properties and pay for Chantelle's training, so I do it right. Or some people say, well, I ain't got no 680 credit score, and you immediately go to poor people's mentality. There's a whole poor person's mentality that some of us come with. And so we don't say, well, with my other $2,000, why don't I get the credit repair for $500, pay off my inquiries, delete my inquiries, dispute some items, repair my credit, boost it to a 680, even if it takes me 7 weeks or takes me 7 months, so I get in position to get funding so that in 7 months I got $50,000 and then go to the tax lien sale. But the poor person says, I'm not doing all of that for 7 months, and then ends up in 7 months as poor or poorer as they are today. So we have to, as a community and as a village, we have to adopt different philosophies and strategies and ideologies about money, about investment, and about wealth creation. All these things work. You got to be intentional about finding your way up the ladder bit by bit. Sometimes you got to go sideways up the ladder. You might got to dip down low on the ladder and come back all the way back around before you come back up. But the point is, what's your end result? Chantelle told you her story of going through 2 market crashes, having 17 properties in foreclosure, coming out of a foreclosure into a tax lien, now to talking about retiring herself and coming back out of retirement to participate with JMA and with Tulsa. It's not about none of the process. It's always about where you end up. But you never end up there if you're not committed to the process. If all you're looking for is quick hits, quick little wins, you're thinking about July 4th instead of 400 years from now. That's why we're getting beat as a community. We all hype thinking about what I'm going to do July 4th, while other communities are thinking about what we're going to do 400 years from now. Until we have that 400-year mentality instead of a July 4th mentality, we're going to stay being poor and underserved, and as Malcolm said, economically exploited. Next question.
And then
yes,
I also wanted to add to that is that in my first 7 years of tax lien investing, I used my own money. And I didn't want to go into debt, so I didn't leverage anything. And as I started to get a mentor, and this is really important that you need mentors, you know, my mentor kept saying, listen, you need to use other people's money. And you need to leverage. You know, what are you doing? You know, and so just beginning to change my mindset helped me scale and grow. You know, Absolutely. And so that's what I tell people. If you're going to invest in tax liens, you're going to quickly run out of your own money. I don't care how much money you have. Even the big boys, they don't use their own money. They're using somebody else's money. So
that's wealth creation, is leverage. Understanding leverage and understanding how to be responsible on leverage, but having strategies that are worth leveraging. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next questions?
Someone from your live stream asked, how long did it take for you to develop and master the strategy for tax liens?
A long time, because when I started, there were no courses in tax liens. And you got to think, this is a secret billion-dollar industry. Banks dominate this. And when I say $1 billion, I mean $1 billion a day. not a year, not a month, a day. So this industry, the information is kept tight. Nobody is trying to teach you. And a lot of people that are investors in tax liens, if you ask them, they won't share that information.
It's like, why?
Yeah,
like,
so that's why it's a mystery. It's the unicorn, you know. So it took me a long time because I had to stumble. I did a lot of trial and error. You know, when I first started, you know, Jay understands my technique and my formula. I didn't have any of that. You know, I just was bidding and just wanted a property. And so over time, you know, I failed. I saw why I fell. I corrected that, got back in, you know, fell another way, corrected that. And so it took, I would say, a good 7 years before I even had a system. Yeah. So it took a very long time. And so that's why I say it's very important that you have a mentor. And if you want to learn tax liens, you could be 10 years ahead of the game of where most people are if you invest in that education. I taught a class today, and the guy said, you know, I don't have the money. I have a certain amount to invest. I don't want to dip into the investment to pay for your class. So I'm just going to, I'm going to come, you know, I told people, you know, you can come to, I have classes that you can come to and you can get information. But if you really want, you're going to get the recipe, but you're not going to get how to actually stir it up and bake it. You have to pay for that. And so he said, well, I'll just come to these classes and I'll see how much I can get. And I said, well, that's fine. You know, but it's probably going to take you 10 years to get where you want. And if you invest, you could probably be there in 2 years. So, you know, it's,
and that's the mentality that we got to break. That's like me saying to my accountant or to my attorney, I want your legal advice, but I don't want to pay for it. I want you to advise me on how to build a multi-million-dollar company, but why should I invest in it? I want to invest into the company. I don't want to invest into the advice and strategy on how to do it.
Right.
How that's like poor people's thinking. This is what is holding us back. It's like, okay, I want to start a real estate fund. I want to start the first black-owned real estate fund ever, but I don't want to pay nobody. I just want to do it. I want to learn on YouTube. This is why we stuck. We'll take a few more questions, then we out tonight.
And I see those YouTubers at the auction, because when I see what they're buying, and I'm like, why would they buy that property? Like me and the big boys, we're like, okay. You know, and most people are offended if you even try to educate them, you know, so we just like, okay, you
go ahead.
You did your due diligence, you know, so you definitely want to educate yourself, because you know, you don't want to spend that, you know, money, and then you get there and you buy something, you just wiped out all your money, you know.
You got the hard education. Either way, you're going to learn.
Right,
you're going to learn either way. You're going to pay for it either way. Trust me.
901.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing, Queen?
Hi. How you doing? So good to talk to you all. I'm a partner, and I'm excited.
Hey, partner.
I paid more than $500. Hey, I paid more than $500 requirement, so I'm excited because I believe in what you're doing and your staff. I'm in Memphis, and as you know, Memphis is a hot market. I've been in real estate for quite a while. Tax sales are really good. We no longer go to a public auction. Now we do it online. And as the Queen was talking about earlier, that's even harder because I definitely know there are foreigners that are buying bulks of our homes here. How do you compete with that?
Well, basically, you have to do what they do. You have to pull your funds together.
Okay.
So basically, by you investing in Tulsa is your first step in doing that, because now we've all pulled our funds together and we can go compete. That's the same thing that they do. That's all other nationalities understand that principle. Let's pull our money together and invest. So that is all what they're doing. It's not like one single person has the money and they're spending it. All those other communities and foreigners, they're pulling their monies together. So the first step is basically what you've done, encouraging other people to do the same, you know, and then being able to go and get those properties.
Because, Queen, we've talked about, go ahead.
You're absolutely right, because when I would go to the public auction downtown, there would be a group, I'm not going to name nationality because that's not important, but there would be a group of people who barely could speak English, and it would be like 2 or 3 of them on their laptop, signing them up left and right. I'm thinking, what? Everybody looking at them like, what's going on? So you're right, it is a group mentality, but that's even like when they come into our neighborhoods and buy the Exxons and the 7-Elevens, there's a group of them buying it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we've got to think of it as what you're doing, you're on track. And I'm so happy about that.
Thank you, Queen. And you know, to that group point, so for everyone to hear, Queen was talking about how groups and other nationalities buy Exxon, 7-Elevens, dollar stores, CVS's, all that kind of stuff, right? The thing is, and we're gonna get this right. See, I'm chilling. Outside being very busy and exhausted, and I got a wedding next week. Outside of all that, I'm chilling because I know we're going to get this right long term as a community, as a village, over the history of what we're doing with this fund and this movement. What I mean by that is this. Other communities can go buy Exxons and 7-Elevens and CVS's and Walgreens and Dollar Generals and Popeyes and everything else collectively because they're not beating each other down. They're not squabbling over, well, what about this 6%, this 7%? They're thinking long term. They're thinking generational. They'll accept the people that were smart enough to be able to put it all together and trust them and invest with them and say, you know what, this 7-Eleven, this Exxon only makes 6% or 4% over these years, but we know long term for our family, for our legacy, the overall appreciation of this Exxon in 14 years, in 22 years, will benefit us and work out to be 10, 12, 13% over time. But we as a community are very short-sighted in investing, and we want to see instantaneous results when wealth is a long-term game. So it makes it, but we're going to fix it though, and I'm cool with balancing both in Tulsa in this first fund. But I'm saying long-term for Tulsa Real Estate Fund is going to have to be understood amongst the village that we're pulling together dollars, not more than we can afford to lose, and nothing that's going to break the bank. But we're pulling together a quote-unquote little bit from everybody, so it's not no hurt or burden on any one person for all of us to be able to go own more together and support those who have great business models who can help us perform. That's the whole flow of the fund. It's so, all right, I can afford $10,000, cool. It ain't gonna kill me. Oh, I can afford $500, cool. I can afford $100,000, cool. We all put that together, but then we own more, control more long term, make performance along the way, but it's not so much about the day-to-day performance and residuals as it is so much the long-term power, control, appreciation, equity. Like that, they're playing for control. Mm-hmm. They're not just playing for ROI, they're playing for control. Imagine how that feels when you own 90% of the gas stations in America. That's control, it's power. When you own the convenience stores. So when the hurricanes do come, you can close the doors and say, yo, we ain't got no more water. We got to start playing for power. And the money comes with the power. But because we've been so poverty-stricken and so economically exploited and disenfranchised, we are climbing and clawing at every dollar, penny, and crumb. And we don't have the luxury, that's why we have to switch our mind to make that luxury, to think long ball and long game, because that's what they're playing. If we're playing short ball versus their long ball, they're going to win every time. They're going to be able to outbid us every time. Because we're bidding based on short-term results, which then lowers our ability and flexibility to win bids with banks, with auctions, with developers, with homeowners. And if they're thinking about, well, shoot, 20 years from now, this joint right here is going to be serious. But I got to answer to you in 20 months. So they thinking 20 years we own Westside Atlanta. We worried about what's going to happen in 20 days of the first 20 days of the fund. Now, we're going to work this out, the first fund. But I'm talking about holistic community repair here. I ain't talking about Tulsa Real Estate Fund, LLC. I'm talking about holistic community repair for the village to bounce back. We're going to have to start thinking long ball and sacrificing our short-term goals and agendas. So that 20 years from now, our community is more wealthier. So that 200 years from now, it's more wealthier. Because of a CVS, a Exxon, or a 7-Eleven that we bought today. Or some tax liens that we bought today. What if all the assets the Tulsa Real Estate Fund acquires with this first $50 million, what if we never sold none of them? And held on to all of them and passed our shares on for 200 more years? Would the amount of money you invested in this first fund, if you never seen it again in life, but your fourth generation in 200 years seen it, would that hurt you? Would it be life devastating to leave that money in for 200 years for your heirs? We got to start thinking like that if we're truly going to succeed and repair ourselves.
The beauty of it, though, is that that's in our DNA. So if you look back in our history, so we have been in last place, as you say, for 400 years. But if you look back in our history, you can see several examples of us pulling our resources together. We talk about Black Wall Street, and there were several of those communities throughout all over. And so that is in our DNA, especially when that's what we had to do, And so that gives us hope that, it's right there.
It's right there. All we needed was just some visionaries, some leadership, some execution, and some infrastructure. All right. Take 3 more questions till we out. 3 more from live or call. Hello.
Peace, Abby.
Hey, peace, King.
Peace.
I was out there to withdraw from my 401k to acquire tax lien.
So that is very possible depending on, if you're still with that company. Most companies, if you're still an active employee, will not allow you to move your 401k. So what a lot of people do is either they can borrow against their 401k, or if you have a 401k that you're fully vested in and you're no longer with that company, you can transfer that 401k to a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k. And then those can come with a checkbook, and you can actually use those funds to invest in tax liens. And just keep in mind that whatever you buy with your retirement account, it goes into the name of that account, and then you can't benefit from that personally until you retire.
Correct.
But it's definitely possible. And we'll be working on a class to educate people more on that as well.
And you can use your 401k to invest in Tulsa as well through a self-directed IRA. Just letting you know.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, King Queen? Hello, yes, quick question for you. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the taxing process. Like for my taxes on my, I own a personal house, and I'm an investor as well in this whole real estate fund. I have a mortgage on my house. My mortgage pays for my taxes. So if the properties that you buy, is that with properties that don't have a mortgage on them? Or let's say the $4,000 house that you bought, was that a house that had a mortgage on it? Or was it something that the mortgage company abandoned?
So that's an awesome question. Thanks for asking it.
Let's repeat it to make sure that our live stream screen.
Okay, so the question is, when buying tax lien properties, are those properties that have mortgages on them, or are those properties free and clear? And the answer to that is that it's a combination. So there are properties that have mortgages on them that go into the tax sale. Even those properties where you have an escrow, sometimes the mortgage company may forget to pay, or let's say the taxes due is $1,000 and maybe they send a check for $999. The county will put that property in the tax sale for that $1. So it's a gamut of reasons why it happens. But what most people don't understand is that property taxes are superior liens, and they will supersede any other lien, which is why most mortgage companies will pay the taxes even if you don't, because they know they would lose their senior position. But there are cases in which, that falls through the cracks. And so once you go through the tax lien process and you complete the legal process after that, it will actually wipe that mortgage off, and it will wipe any other liens off as well. So
yeah. So here's a great point for those who can, obviously listen, but also who can view on live stream. So part of how some of that looks.
Jay is a tax lien expert, y'all. He
Listen,
learns very quick.
I'm a fast learner. It's like this. This is what we're excited about. And some of what we call our CD properties, right? These are C and D class properties. Typically those properties, if they have a mortgage on them, these are properties you may find in the hood or more abandoned or vacant neighborhoods. In those properties, say we buy a tax lien for $20,000. And it has a mortgage on it for whatever it might be. The mortgage might be $30,000. Excuse me. What I've come to learn over the last few weeks is that if this is the mortgage, a lot of times in a CD neighborhood, the bank would just say, forget about it. It's not even worth paying off this 20 for this mortgage. Y'all can have it. Y'all deal with it. We'll write it off, right? But now, excuse me, and our A and B properties, right, which you'll find typically in more middle class or more upscale neighborhoods or higher price points of properties. You got the same $20,000 tax lien, excuse me, or more on a property, and a bank may have $60,000 or better or whatever number that might be mortgage on a property, but the property is probably worth more because of the area that it's in, so it might be worth $100,000 or whatever the case is. The bank will typically look to pay this $20,000 tax lien off. But here's the great part. Not just a year from now. There's some strategies that Chantelle shared and that we're using within our Tulsa tax lien investments, where we can get this $20,000 tax lien, we can, with the mortgage company, paid off maybe in 90 days to 180 days. So now, if we're paying the tax lien off sooner and getting our 20% on the money, but we're doing it every 90 to 180 days, now 20% can look more like every 6 months, can look more like 40% ROI on the same money if we're turning it over faster, which we can do in the A and B markets. These markets may have higher tax lien prices. We may be bidding up to $60,000 for a property that has, $60,000 on taxes for a property that has, $190,000 mortgage on it that's worth $300,000. And we got to spend $60,000 for the lien to get our 20% interest, but it's a higher chance on a $300,000 valued property that the bank goes and pays us out our 20% sooner than the year. Because if they wait till 366 days, this 20% now becomes 30%. It's even more money that we get. Or if they don't pay it at all, we got a property for $60,000 that's worth $300,000, which is better for the fund and better for our performance. And so that's just something I learned from Chantelle, in the last couple weeks. That's all. One more question and we out of here. One more. This is, by the way, guys, this is my Father's Day tie from my daughter Anna. Green Father's Day tie.
That's a
has
nice
a little
tie,
has a little shimmer to it. Yeah. Be a dad. You'll get a tie.
How y'all doing?
Great, thank you. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. This is Mel Tony from Flint, Michigan.
Peace.
Got some questions for y'all.
We'll take one of them. Which is the best one?
Okay, because a lot of the questions the caller already asked already. So if you want to skip to go to somebody else, I'll let them do that. And that.
That's unselfish of you. What a great village member. We'll go to another question since yours were answered. Peace, King. Great talking to you. See, he wasn't selfish with it and tried to force the question. He like, you know what? I'm going to get to my cousin. My cousin had this peach cobbler.
Peach cobbler? I don't know about the peach
cobbler. Last question. Who got a good one? Treff Life. For life. Lifestyle. Never had it in our life.
There's a caller on. It should be.
Hello? What area code?
512.
512 is on you.
Okay. 919.
919 is your time.
Hello.
Hey, Queen.
Hi. I wanted to know, how long does the homeowner actually have to come back and purchase the property, back from?
Repeat the question, too.
Okay, so the question is, how long does the homeowner have to come and reclaim the property or redeem the property? So this varies by state, but today we're talking about Georgia. So in Georgia, they actually have until the investor starts the foreclosure process. So most people say, oh, I thought they had 365 days. The 365 days actually applies to the investor when they can start the foreclosure process. So if they don't start it on day 365, the homeowner will have, if it's never done, they will have an unlimited period that they could come and reclaim that home. But the investor can start the foreclosure process on day 366. And so after that process is complete, which is usually 45 days to 90 days, then the homeowner will not be able to come back and redeem the property.
All right, great question and great answer. Thank you, Queen. So, again, I enjoyed this and having you present.
Thank you.
I always enjoyed my time with you. I hope you guys learned a lot. Again, we want to participate and stimulate, and we want to educate, or we want to participate and educate to stimulate. One last point, social point. I said I would leave social out of this tonight, but I'm not. Social point. As you all see in a live stream and hear on the phone and Facebooks and everywhere else. Something I write about in our book, The Solution, when Malcolm X talked about us suffering from social degradation, meaning that we're degraded socially and we degrade ourselves. One thing that we've been doing the last 3 years that I think has worked pretty well, and most people organically adopt because you just be around us so much, you probably ain't got no choice, is that we uplift the men in our community by referring to them, in most instances, even when we're pissed off, as kings. And we refer to the women in our village, in our community, as queens. Whether they're your fiance, your queen, or whether they're your friend or associate or colleague or whomever, or random queen in our community who just needs a little bit of encouragement, who needs a little bit of personal stimulation, who may need a little bit of love and a little more than usual because of the self-degradation and the outside degradation and degrading and dignity stripping that we've suffered as a people. So we say brother, sister, and everything else, but we have an intentional way of elevating ourselves from saying that. And so I do appreciate our Tulsa Fund members and other supporters and followers who I hear greet us on the phone, through Instagram posts and comments, who say, hey, King this, hey, King that, what's up, King, what's up, Queen. I don't think we psychologically even know how much impact they may be having on us from subliminally being called, or intentionally, but subliminally hearing being called King and Queen all day, every day, especially amongst the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, Jay Morrison Academy, the whole Jay Morrison brand. We in this office all day like King this, King that, all day. Everybody, the graphics, the video, the editors, the interns. Like when I come in, we have 10 interns from Fulton County, 10 high school interns. Every time I come into the room with our interns, I hear the queens, hi, King Jay. Hey, peace, King. And all our interns is on it. And you have teenagers greeting themselves that way. And so that's a social point that I want to offer our village. Bring that home. Promote that amongst your own family, friends, and colleagues. There's nothing wrong with stimulating each other. It can't do nothing but help, I would think. I don't think it can hurt, especially based on our circumstance. So if we continue to economically educate and stimulate, and we continue to socially elevate each other, I think we have a better, healthier community. So,
I agree.
Any last words, Queen? I'll leave you the last words for tonight.
Well, I always leave people with, people always say, what can I do to jump my real estate career off? And my go-to thing is networking. I would not be actually sitting right here if it wasn't for networking. I was introduced to you by someone, and I was introduced to him by someone.
Shout out to Ramon Tukes, by the way.
King Ramon.
That's King Ramon, that's right.
Yeah, so, if you want to make it in real estate, networking is more than half the battle. So that, all those people, what can I do to get started? How can I get some money? Network.
And that goes
So
for
that's what I'm
all
gonna leave the
for-
people
yeah,
with.
For me, it goes for all business. It's called immersing yourself in the business. Get off of chillax mode. Get out the crib. You want to do whatever it is. Real estate, tax lien. You want to be a singer. You want to be a chef. I be at all the chef events. I be in the mix of everything that's culinary going on this month. Too many of us have these dreams and goals and aspirations, but our action does not meet our ambitions. So, say goodnight. That's how you get the last word.
Good night, Tulsa family. Good
Trap
night,
life.
kings and queens.
Peace, y'all. See y'all next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And for those who have not invested in the fund yet, it is not too late to become a partner. Get your 8% preferred returns, 50% of the profits of upcoming deals at TulsaRealEstateFund.com. Minimum investment, 10 shares, $50 per share. That's $500 minimum investment to be an owner in the first ever black-owned real estate crowdfund in the history of the world. That's us.
All right.